It's not on.
I'm hearing somebody speak like when someone.
Power on. 15. Power on. 15.
Can you hear me, ma?
16.
I can hear you now. Copy you.
This is how your church, Yeah?
This year enter.
Where were you? Okay.
One, two, three, four, five, six. We're ready to go. One, two, three, four, five, six.
Your this video, remove a move.
What?
Your remote. Your put a move. Okay. You want to be using it.
That door should be closed. I will invite her or what? Please close this door, please. Good morning. Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I'm Charles Pius. In the headlines, Shatima reaffirms Nigeria's commitment to strategic EU partnership. Speaker Abbas calls for protection of workers from hazards and fatalities. Trump talks up Bezos' call for tariff pricing and touts tax cuts. And UN chief speaks with Pakistan, India amidst tensions. Details shortly. Vice President Kashim Shettima has reaffirmed the deep commitment of President Bola Tinubu's administration to a strategic partnership with the European Union. He made this known on Tuesday during a courtesy visit by head of the EU delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ambassador Gautier Maynard, at the presidential villa Abuja. Shettima, who praised the EU's long-standing support, highlighted growing opportunities for collaboration in trade, investment, and youth empowerment. He noted that Nigeria was entering a new phase of economic openness under President Tinubu's leadership, citing the administration's bold reforms. Shettima described the recent opening of the EBRD office in Lagos as both symbolic and strategic, signaling that Nigeria is open for business. The vice president also spoke on migration cooperation, expressing satisfaction with the ongoing engagement under the EU-Nigeria readmission agreement. He advocated for the revitalization of youth-focused initiatives such as the Nigerian Jubilee Fellows Program. In his remarks, Magnot noted the importance of a strong and reliable partnership with Nigeria amidst global instability and political uncertainty. He described Nigeria as a key partner for the EU in the 21st century and affirmed that the EU ambassadors in Nigeria had reaffirmed their commitments to this partnership. The Nigerian officially became the 77th shareholder of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development (EBRD) in February 2025, following the bank's phased expansion into Sub-Saharan Africa approved by its Board of Governors in 2023. The Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives says it has recovered an additional 11.5 billion naira from oil and gas companies operating in the country. This latest figure brings the total recovery secured by the committee to about 62 billion naira as it intensifies efforts to recover outstanding liabilities to the Nigerian government. Briefing newsmen on the latest recoveries, the chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts, Bamidele Salam, said the recovery effort was based on the findings of the Auditor General and data obtained from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC. Salmon condemned the continued failure of several oil and gas companies to appear before the committee, despite multiple invitations issued through public notices and official correspondence. The defaulting firms, he said, collectively owe over $384 million and 326 billion naira to the federal government, warning that the committee will not tolerate attempts by corporate entities to evade their responsibility to the Nigerian people. He warned that the committee will not hesitate to recommend immediate revocation of the operating license for any company that shows contempt for the committee and the laws of the nation. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, is calling for the renewed legislative action to guarantee the safety of Nigerian workers and strengthen occupational safety standards nationwide. Abbas, who spoke at the 2025 World Day for Safety and Health at Work conference in Abuja, where he was represented by Adelegbe Oluwatimehi, stressed the need to protect workers from hazards and fatalities. He advocated a stricter enforcement of safety protocols, particularly in high-risk sectors like construction, healthcare, and mining. Chairman of the committee, David Zacharias, described the conference as a landmark effort while pledging continued legislative advocacy for improved safety policies. In a goodwill message, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Muhammadu Dingiyadi, said the federal government is committed to the safety of workers and the work environment.
organizations collaborate as equal partners. This ensures that policies are not only legally sound, but also practically enforceable and socially inclusive. The Ministry of Youth later to engage constructively with the National Assembly, social partners, and all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the national legislative proposals
The event with the theme, The Legislative Perspective, Safety First, Building a Safer Future for All Nigerians, was organized by the House Committee on Safety Standards and Regulations to address workplace safety and challenges. Minister of State for Education, Professor Shuaib Ahmad, has stressed the need for an inclusive and accountable governance culture in Nigeria. Ahmad stated this at the unveiling of a book, Nigerian Leaders in the Fourth Republic and Challenges, 1999 to 2023, on Tuesday in Abuja. She also called for a documentation of various eras in the country's history, which will be essential in providing current and future generations with lenses through which to assess growth and forge a clearer path forward. She said that the work was a catalyst for critical dialogue about leadership, democracy, nation building, prospects, and challenges in the country. According to her, Nigeria has gone through trials and triumphs with uninterrupted years of democratic governance, with the book captured on a journey with the personalities, policies, governance, and challenges that continue to define its existence and progress. The minister was represented at the occasion by the Director, Education, Management, and Program Coordinator, SDG 4 in the ministry, Khadijat Liman. The former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka AnyaOku, says good governance and development in Nigeria can only be achieved through constitutional reforms. AnyaOku made this view known at the 14th Emeka AnyaOku Lecture Series on Good Governance with the theme Imperatives of Good Governance in Nigeria, held at the International Conference Center, Enugu. Correspondent Chinemeremi Kebunam was at the event.
The 14th in the series was a gathering of stakeholders, political leaders, youth, men and women from various walks of life. The lecture held at International Conference Center centered mainly on the current state of affairs in the country and how best to enthrone towards good governance in Nigeria. Addressing the gathering, Chief AnyaOku stated that Nigeria's development hinges on good governance, which he said can only be achieved through constitutional reforms. AnyaOku noted that despite Nigeria's rich cultural diversity and abundant resources, faces significant governance challenges, including corruption, lack of transparency, and instability. AnyaOku also made a strong case for restructuring the country to allow for state autonomy and better resource management.
Nigeria is still a pluralistic country. And as I have said on a number of occasions, pluralistic countries are all over the world. Those of them that have succeeded in surviving and remaining individual political entities have been those who address their pluralism through genuine federal constitution.
The guest speaker and Nigeria's former permanent representative to the United Nations, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, called for a radical restructuring of the current federal arrangements to significantly devolve power to the people, as well as rejig the leadership recruitment process. He also called for a complete overhaul of political parties and a greater attention to constitutionalism.
Also, a most greater attention has to be given to constitutionalism in order to ensure that the operators of the Constitution strength through the three arms of government and the three layers of our federal system, not only under the spirit of the Constitution, but live by the rules of government embedded in it.
The chairman of the occasion, retired General Ike Nwachukwu, advocated for restructuring Nigeria into a proper federation to grant autonomy to states and bring governance closer to the people. This, he argued, will give them access to minerals and other natural and human resources for accelerated development.
I stand for respect for the rule of law, the need for a forthright and independent judiciary, a more effective and responsive military, police, and intelligence services.
The host, Governor Peter Mba, expressed his administration's commitment to good governance, acknowledging the need for promotion of visionary, accountable, and inclusive leadership.
When we invest in the youth, we are invariably investing in securing not just their future, but our future too.
As Nigeria navigates its development journey, the consensus among experts and leaders is clear that good governance, institutional restructuring are essential for unlocking the country's potential. In Enugu, Chinemere Ikebuna for
The Anambra State Police Command has arrested a 35-year-old suspect, Ewolu Chikwa, for alleged involvement in the 2022 armed attack on the War Divisional Police Headquarters, during which a police officer, Inspector Stella Maris, was brutally murdered. The command's public relations officer, Tochukwu Ikenga, said in a statement that Chikwa was apprehended around the Osumogu Iseke axis of Ihiala local government area while allegedly attempting to enforce an illegal sit-at-home order in the community. Ikenga said that the arrest was made by operatives of the Rapid Response Squad, an anti-kidnapping unit, acting on credible intelligence, who also uncovered and dismantled the criminal camp operated by individuals believed to be responsible for terrorizing communities across the state. According to Ikenga, the suspect admitted participating in the violent attack on the Ubo police station in 2022 that resulted in the death of Inspector Stella Maris. He said that the Joint Security Forces has intensified patrols in the region, assuring that the command remains committed to using credible information in tracking down and apprehending other members of the criminal gang. Meanwhile, the Kebbi Yellows Consultative Forum has opposed the proposal for state policing, a measure widely endorsed by various stakeholders as a potential solution to Nigeria's worsening security challenges. The forum's director, Dr. Farouk Mayama, expressed concern that establishing state-controlled police forces could exacerbate ethnic tensions and deepen divisions across the country. Speaking on Signature Show on Signature Morning, Mayama argued that state policing might lead to the misuse of power by state governors, potentially fueling ethnic conflicts rather than resolving insecurity.
In the United States, at times you can see how they are used against the students of their respective states, and at times even have some clashes to them and the federal police in developed countries. What about our own country that we are developing now? For instance, seen a situation whereby people that just simply collect revenues intimidate people that come from the other parts of the country. I school in the East. I have so much has been happening. I also travel across the country, and I have so much has been happening in different parts of the country. And I know the dangers of state police. And I have seen what some of these vigilantes groups were even doing, not to of the state police that are.
Mayama urged the government to adopt a holistic approach to insecurity, combining enhanced border security, economic reforms, and stricter oversight of mining activities.
Especially some of our politicians are not patriotic. They instigate, they engineer ethnic tension, they mobilize ethnic militia because ethnic problems across the country. And the problem is we don't have punishment for some of these sort of things. Some are above the law. And what the federal government and even state government need to do is to make sure that people who incite ethnic tension, religious tension, are prosecuted and punished. Because if you don't punish crimes, then crimes, has a tendency.
He highlighted the role of unemployment and the ongoing economic downturn in driving unrest and appealed to the federal government to prioritize job creation and economic revitalization to stabilize the country. He urged the federal government to strengthen border control to curb the influx of illegal arms and foreign insurgents, as well as check mining activities of foreign companies. Still to come, EFCC charges banks on improved KYC and enhanced collaboration. NLC frowns over non-implementation of minimum wage by some state governors. Do stay with us. Welcome back. The Special Control Units Against Money Laundering, SCOMO, and Sefein Africa have resolved to strengthen their collaboration towards effective enforcement of anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism laws in Nigeria. The acting director of SCOMO, Harry Topper, made this resolve in Abuja on Tuesday when he received a delegation from Sefein Africa, who is on a scoping mission to agencies saddled with the responsibility of supervising and enforcing AML CFT laws in Nigeria. The coordinator for West Africa Hub of Sefein Africa, Stephanie Bertono, in her remarks said that Sefein Africa project is a classical AML CFT project funded by the European Union and supported by France and Germany. The project is aimed at supporting African countries to prevent and combat illicit financial flows with a goal to increase domestic stability. She said that the meeting was to understand and explore AML CFT in Nigeria and challenges facing the various agencies. Ehring acknowledged the importance of the mission, which he said was to strengthen Nigeria's AML CFT regime, noting that SCOMO is committed and open to collaboration. He went on to give an overview of SCOMO, its mandate and current initiatives, which include but are not limited to building solutions for operation and intelligence-driven compliance monitoring. He further noted that areas where the unit can benefit from Sefein project, which include capacity building, integration and consolidation of SCOMO's infrastructure, amongst others. Sefein Africa with the objectives to secure a robust AML CFT framework against illicit financial flows in sub-Saharan African countries has a 48-month lifespan from 2024 to 2028. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has called on the financial institutions across the country to strengthen their collaboration with the Commission towards ridding the nation of economic and financial crimes, other acts of corruption. This charge was given on Tuesday in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, by the acting zonal director of EFCC, Adebayo Adeniyi, while addressing bank compliance officers. He admonished them to always carry out their duties of conducting customer due diligence and know their customers in order to strengthen the fight against corruption. He also charged them to take their job seriously, ensure good collaboration with the Commission, good ethical conduct, honesty, and accountability while dealing with their customers. He also tasked them to always remind their customers that those who fail to comply with the due diligence uh, and KYC principles would be sanctioned. He cautioned account officers against encouraging internet fraudsters to commit fraud through multiple account creation or alerting their customers that they are under investigation by the EFCC or that their accounts have been flagged. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Tuesday adjourned the trial of leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to Friday for cross-examination of the federal government witness. The presiding judge, Justice James Omotosho, adjourned the case after consult to the federal government at Adeboyega Onwomolo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, led the first prosecution witness in evidence. The witness and operatives of the Department of State Service who gave his evidence behind protective sheet tendered documentary evidence against the IPOB leader through Awomolo and marked as exhibits by the judge after Kanu's lawyer, Kanu Agabi, also a senior advocate of Nigeria, raised no objection to the application. The witness, who told the court that he had served for about 18 years, that he was assigned with some team members to arrest Kanu at the Golden Tulip Hotel in Lagos, presented the video recording of Kanu's interrogation by DSS operatives, which was played in the open court, while the statement he made on October 15, 2015, was also read, where he admitted establishing the Radio Biafra in London and also registered in London. Kanu, who stated that freedom fighting is not a crime in any part of the world, including Nigeria, said it is a fundamental right and denied being involved in any violence because he had not been linked with any. The court had earlier granted permission to the federal government for its witnesses to testify before or behind camera in terrorism charges, while delivering ruling in an ex parte application filed by the federal government lawyer Adeboyega Solomon, a senior advocate of Nigeria. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekerekun, has called on the Nigerian Bar Association to rise and defend the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. Kekerekun, who was responding to the call by members of the Bar and Bench Forum for more protection for judicial officers, noted that most of the petitions against judges accusing them of corruption are frivolous, baseless, and unsubstantiated. She said that some people write petitions against judges just to intimidate and harass them, and said that judges are traumatized after they had been investigated and found to have done nothing wrong. The CJN also frowned at the practice by lawyers who, without first reading court judgments to identify the ratio of the judgments, go on television to criticize judges and challenge their senior counsels to mentor young lawyers and help them grow as disciplined and responsible members of the bar. Chairman of the NBA Bar and Bench Forum, Dr. Richard Ahonaroho, had urged NJC to ensure that petitions against judges are screened so that frivolous petitions can be discarded without wasting counsel's time, while frivolous petitions should sanctions with heavy costs. The River State Police Command and heads of sister security agencies in the state are currently interfacing with stakeholders from the 23 council areas of the state on how to protect and safeguard national assets in the state. The State Commissioner of Police, Olubenga Adepoju, disclosed this when the service commanders visited the council areas to discuss prevailing security issues and the welfare of the residents. He noted that the engagements were also an avenue to identify challenges facing the communities beyond security concerns, assuring that their complaints would be forwarded to the government for necessary attention. The police boss assured the public of its unwavering commitment to partnering with all stakeholders to ensure that safety and protection of lives, property, and critical national assets across the state. A youth representative, Ebenezer Letam, highlighted the lack of employment opportunities and inadequate staffing in health centers and schools across in most communities, while the chairman of Ogu Council of Chiefs at Adokiye Ochemieba Chukwu appealed for a befitting police station building to replace the current temporary arrangement. Other stakeholders appealed for development of infrastructure such as road networks, healthcare facilities, potable water, and youth empowerment programs, while soliciting continued support from the communities and the state government. Chairman of the 8 branches of the Nigerian Bar Association in Rivers States have issued a strong condemnation of a recent query issued to the chairman of the NBA Port Harcourt branch, Cordelia Ake, by the administrator of Rivers State through the Ministry of Justice. In a joint statement, the NBA chairman described the allegations as an attempt to intimidate Mrs. Eke and stifle dissenting voices among legal professionals in the state, stating that Eke did not issue the communique in her capacity as a civil servant, but as the elected chairman of the Port Harcourt branch in line with her constitutional mandate. The chairman argued that their collective statements, including the one referenced from April 9th, were issued following formal deliberations within the association and reflected the position of all NBA branches in the state, noting that their views align with those of the NBA at the national level. The NBA chairman further criticized the query, which they say is part of a broader effort by the sole administrator to suppress free speech and dismantle democratic norms under the guise of maintaining peace. The lawyers reminded the Rivers State's administrator that the main objectives of the Nigerian Bar Association is the promotion of rule of law as watchdog of the society, which was the duty of speaking truth to authority, and reaffirmed their unwavering stand to resist any harassment or persecution targeting NBA leadership, lawyers, or wider public in Rivers State. The 8th chairman of NBA branches in Rivers State had in a joint statement criticized the sole administrator for going against his mandate and the rule of law, urging President Bola Tinubu and the National Assembly to ensure he keeps within his mandate. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has frowned over the non-implementation of the new minimum wage and the consequential adjustments by some state governors. NLC President Joe Ajaero said this at the 6th National Gender Conference organized by the NLC National Women Commission on Tuesday in Abuja. Ajaero said that the salaries of some workers were currently below the amounts they were receiving before the new minimum wage at 17,000 naira was implemented as a result of taxes and inflation. He added that workers in the federal civil service were yet to take their complaints on the short change of salary payments to the leadership of the NLC. So after so many people are lamenting in their closets about how they implemented the minimum wage, he says. Chairperson of NLC's Women's Commission, Salamatu Aliyu, said women in Nigeria and indeed around the world were still being subjected to discrimination, abuse, harassment in their places of work and society. Aliyu, represented by Deborah Yusuf, deputy chairperson in the commission, said that women were being relegated to lower status and lower paid jobs and underrepresented in leadership and decision-making process and bodies. The federal government on Tuesday condemns the recent terrorist attack in South Kashmir's Pahang, which claimed the lives of many persons. In a statement by its spokesperson, Kimebi Ebefa, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the terrorism in all its forms and manifestations is a global menace that requires collective action. It stated that having faced similar challenges, Nigeria understands the devastating impact of such acts of violence and reiterates its call for enhanced global cooperation to combat terrorism and extremism. The statements convey their thoughts and prayers for the people of India as they recover from their tragedy and in pursuit of peace, stability, and justice worldwide. Reports say the unfortunate attack resulted in the tragic loss of 26 innocent lives, while at least one person was injured. The victims were 25 tourists and one local guide who were strolling peacefully through Kashmir's verdant Baisaran Valley when the terrorists attacked them. Another Ponzi scheme has crumbled. This time it's CBEX. Life savings have gone, and yet some still claim they cashed out big. As the dust settles on the CBEX Ponzi scheme losses, correspondent Nasiru Usman hit the streets of Abuja to find out why Nigerians seem sold to financial gambling. When will Nigerians stop gambling with their hard-earned cash? The ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, is still in celebration mood following the recent defections to the party from prominent chieftains of the People's Democratic Party in Delta State. The defections have generated mixed reactions, including condemnations and apprehensions from some opposition leaders and political watchers who see it as a part of a grand plan to extinguish the voice of the opposition in the country. But Vice President Kashim Shettima, who was in Delta State, said the defection of Governor Sheriff Oboweri and his supporters to the All Progressives Congress, APC, is a political tsunami of unimaginable proportion. He described the occasion as a testimony to the enduring promise of the APC, saying that the true measure of a political party lies not merely in the enthusiasm of its members, but in the conviction it inspires among those who once opposed them. National Chairman of the APC, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, described the defection of the Delta governor as a political legacy. Okowa explained that his decision to defect from the PDP to the APC was for the common good of the people, while Governor Oboweri said that what happened in Delta State was a movement, not a defection, and assured that there would be no faction in Delta APC. Still to come, Pakistani army accuses India of sponsoring terrorism in Pakistan. Mexico has received nearly 39,000 deportees from U.S. since Trump took office, says Mexico president. Visit more after the break. Just stay with us. Wow. 39,000. What? Bismuth, you know, that's an entire...
That's what I'm beginning.
An entire village, I'm telling you. 39,000. US IDT, yo. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Okowa, all of a sudden. Okowa that couldn't deliver PDP to PDP in the last election is now the one that APC collected.
If the people.
Okowa couldn't.
The voters. What? I don't know.
Okowa couldn't deliver.
Again now.
Hold on.
Somebody will just.
Shh. U.S. President Donald Trump traveled to Michigan to celebrate his first 100 days in office on Tuesday. Speaking to reporters outside the White House, Trump said he had a good call with Amazon chairman Jeff Bezos. The call follows media reports that a Republican president complains to Bezos about a report that the e-commerce giants plan to display prices that show the impact of tariffs, which Amazon denied. Trump also said that talks with India on tariffs were coming along great, and he thinks the two countries will reach a deal. Trump also told reporters he would plan to visit Africa. The president also said that he did not want to penalize automakers if they cannot find parts supplies for their vehicles. Trump, who said he would focus on the economy in a speech later in Michigan, said he was not all worried about the auto industry.
Thing, and he's a good guy. We just wanted to help them during this little transition, short term. And during this little, if they can't get parts, it has to do with a very small percentage. If they can't get parts, we didn't want to penalize them. And they have a 1 year period, and then they have an extra year. But it's for a very, very small part of the car. Basically, they're paying 25%. The economy would be certainly right up there, and I think it's doing great. We were losing billions and billions of dollars a day with trade, and now I have that down to a very low level, and soon we're going to be making a lot of money. We're going to be reducing people's taxes, and we're going to get the big, look, a very important element that we're working on now, maybe more important than anything with the border in good shape, is the fact, is the fact that we want.
Foreign ministers from the BRICS group of developing nations failed to reach a joint communique on Tuesday after a meeting in Rio de Janeiro, but Chair Brazil issued a statement speaking out against trade protectionism. In a statement, Brazil and the group's foreign ministers expressed serious concern at the prospect of a fragmented global economy and the weakening of multilateralism. The United States has implemented a new tariff-focused trade policy under President Donald Trump, raising concerns about a global economic showdown or slowdown, although the statements did not name the U.S. The expanded BRICS group, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, as well as new joiners, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Iran, faces daunting challenges from U.S. trade actions. Brazilian Foreign Relations Minister Mauro Vieira told journalists the BRICS ministers had reached a consensus on the tariffs issue, saying it could be seen in the statements issued by the South American country. He added that the nations were working to have a final joint statement as their July summit, also in Rio de Janeiro. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on Tuesday that the time has arrived for concrete proposals from Russia and Ukraine to end the war in Ukraine, and if there is no progress, the U.S. will step back as a mediator. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned on Tuesday that the prospect of a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is at risk of disappearing as the Security Council met to discuss the worsening situation in Gaza. He urged political leaders to take decisive steps. Guterres also described deteriorating conditions in Gaza following the collapse of a ceasefire in March.
Push on slowly. Ready? You can keep that high. Okay.
French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot called for an immediate ceasefire and described the humanitarian situation as catastrophic. Barrot stressed the urgent need for humanitarian aid to reach Gaza. Franco-Israeli ties have been complicated in recent months over the war in Gaza and growing unease in Paris over Israel's handling of the conflict. Earlier in April, President Emmanuel Macron suggested Paris could recognize a Palestinian state later this year, depending on a number of conditions, drawing the ire of Israeli officials. Barrett reiterated France's support for a two-state solution and outlined upcoming diplomatic efforts. Acting U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Dorothy Sher called for Hamas to be held accountable. In June, France and Saudi Arabia will host an international conference in New York on the implementation of the two-state solution. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke separately on Tuesday with Pakistan's Prime Minister Mohammad Shehbaz Sharif and India's Foreign Minister Subrahmanyam Jaishankar, a UN spokesperson said. The Secretary General also expressed his deep concern at the rising tensions between India and Pakistan and underscored the need to avoid a confrontation that could result in tragic consequences. He offered his good offices to support de-escalation efforts. Aryna Sabalenka cruised into the Madrid Open quarterfinals on Tuesday following a straight sets win over Peyton Stearns. The world number one from Belarus needed just under 70 minutes to complete a 6-2, 6-4 victory over her American opponents. Up next for the former two-time champion in the Spanish capital is 24th seed from Ukraine, Marta Kostyuk. And as the news is hour, many thanks for watching. I'll see you in another 5 minutes for the morning show. See you later. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in another 5 minutes for the morning show. So go on YouTube. If you're on SLTV, you can actually tune into channel 265 to tune to us. That's Signature TV. Morning, my brother. You may as well just stay on YouTube on Signature TV News. Just go in there. We're 24 hours on that platform. All right. Many thanks. I'll see you again shortly.